Well, another Tuesday Wrestling has just gone by. We're going to review both AEW Dark and Impact Wrestling. So I hope you guys are ready. So let's get started right now.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan, Impact, NWA, many promotions, matches, wrestlers, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod. So before I start, I hope you guys been paying attention to what's been going on in the entire wrestling world recently. As you all know, The Rock has now purchased the XFL along with a company and along with his ex-wife, who is also now his business partner, Danny Garcia. Uh, there's been a lot of controversy he's been saying about the XFL. Now, we can agree about how disastrous the XFL is, but we need to be more realistic about this. We know that Vince has been actually not been the guy who's been knows what he's doing. That's one of the key things that we've been hearing about him. But we just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen. So, in other words, reports are coming in conflictingly about Triple H saying that he's leaving the WWE. Now, I don't know exactly what's the full story, but I will keep track on that. So I think that's about it where I'm going to speak up before starting. So right now, let's get started with AEW Dark. Alright, so right now we're starting with AEW Dark. First match of the evening is Will Hobbs versus Scorpio Sky. Now, this was a very unusual match because Scorpio Sky, we know how talented he is. We do know he has a bright future to go to the top, and we've seen him many times. If you guys are fans of Scorpio Sky, you guys know what I'm talking about. So in this match, it kind of became like a squash match. Now, I don't know what was the purpose of that. It would have been a great story if they went a little longer, but it didn't. But the best part is, right then, when Scorpio Sky won, he talked about he was tired that he's not being put into Dynamite. Reason is, we have been seeing mostly been going during Dark in singles competition. That's always been the case that we've seen with Scorpio Sky and several others. Now, I don't like to consider Dark as a how do I say this as a developmental thing, But of course, sometimes we gotta, as wrestlers, they have to build up their craft, their personalities, characters. These characters that we watch every single time when we enjoyed wrestling. But that's what happened. But he said he wants to be at the top and seat at the table. So it would make sense. I like the promo how he went. Now, is this the sign of him becoming a heel? No, I don't think so. I think this is more of the sign that it's time for him to push himself to the top. But he did state it one fact. There have been only two people in the entire business in AEW that pinned the Le Champion, Chris Jericho. One was Moxley, and the other was himself. So he made a good, compelling argument. Now, that's the kind of thing I like. So, Scorpio Sky won, but now he wants to go to the top. So, let's move on to the next match. We have a tag team match between Sempertico and Alan Solo versus the Gun Club. Now, if you guys don't know who the Gun Club is, that is the tag team, a father and son tag team, Billy Gunn and his son Asta Gunn. Now, this was a very good thing because the thing is, there have been one other father and son tag team duo, and We saw them recently in NWA, Hawks Airy. But this was a very interesting. Now, if you guys are not familiar, if you guys know who Billy Gunn is, he is Mr. Assman. Bam, bam. So yeah, we know who he is. But his son Austin, he is more enthusiastic, energized when it comes to him being in wrestling. But I do see Austin having a bright future. Last thing I remember with Austin, he was gonna go to New Japan, but either he didn't make the cut or whatever. But I feel like he made the right choice being in AEW, because who knows how they would have treated. Because sometimes second generation wrestlers, they normally have a hard time trying to live up the reputation from their parent, and we've seen that a bunch of times. I can go on this one. So it was a good match. I like the dynamic. There was a moment where Austin actually pulled off his father's signature move, but it worked. But it was a great match. I enjoyed it. The Gun Club picked up the victory. Hopefully we get to see more of them. Hopefully we can see them on Dynamite. That's what one of the things I want to see with them. The next match is another tag team. We got the Initiative, Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, along with Leva Bates, versus Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Now, we have seen of countless times with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. They have been a strong tag team. We have been seeing them for weeks, maybe months, how they have worked good. Now, their styles are completely different from each other, and it's okay, because sometimes it's a little different than we normally see. Like, there's certain type of dynamics that we see. Like, if you look at both the Lucha Brothers and the Bucks, one is a brawler, one is a high flyer, and that's maybe one of the similarities between Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. But it was a great match. Many of the teamwork with Sonny and Joey has been really great. I enjoyed that. And Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, I know they've been on a losing streak, but they have come close many times over to win a match. Now, I don't know how long this is going to go over. I hope they pick up a victory, because they need to improve and show they can be a good tag team. Even though there's stories that they're the worst of them all, Maybe so. But sooner or later, their luck is about to range. But I love this match, how it went. But of course, the winner came to Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, as always. No complaining there. Next match, we have a women's match. Kaylin King versus the Undead Abaddon. But I did like how Kylie King on this one showed a bit of her aggressiveness. She was showing no fear, no matter how much fear Abaddon has put over. That's always been the key. Like, I like that type of story. Like, sometimes fear will take over, but you can't let fear take control of you. That's always been a good thing to watch, But sadly, Abaddon took out Kylie King the same way she did with Anna Jay. She picked up the victory. So we'll see how that goes even furthermore. Next match, we have the return of Jack Evans facing along with Angelico, the Hybrid 2, facing off against QT Marshall and Alley. Now, much of this, I was glad to see QT Marshall now that he is negative now from the COVID-19, because we do know he contracted it, but he stayed home. He's healthy. I'm glad he's back. So but much of this match was interesting because QT Marshall, we have seen him, what he can do in the ring. If you guys haven't seen the recent Sammy vlog where QT saying that I could do this Sasuke special in my sleep and all that. But yeah, QT is actually really good. I enjoyed how he was much dominant in this match, but at the same time, Jack Evans tried to use techniques to ensure he would win. But I think the biggest drawback that happened here is, of course, Jack had Angelico right in the side, and QT has Ali. Basically, it's always a dynamic, because if one didn't have someone behind them, that always ends up losing or winning. But when it's two, that's a very difficult to put out, because that always comes to the ref will be distracted by either one or two, or however the scenario plays out. That's one of the things that kind of make things worse. But in my opinion, I would prefer QT Marshall to win, but Jack Evans needed to win because uh, we haven't seen him since the whole thing with the COVID-19 began. So I'm excited he's back. Hopefully we can see more of them down the line, even during this time. Next match we have Griff Garrison, or as we call him, not Jungle Boy, teaming up with Brian Pillman Jr. facing off against FTR. Now, this was another interesting match to watch because you all know FTR is basically old school style of tag team wrestling, which we have been seeing for a long time since their time in NXT and WWE. But let's just keep that part out. The WWE, just NXT. But it's great to see how this match went. I have to say that I did like how this one went because more of the aggressiveness, but also determination to win by Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman. But sadly, it doesn't end that way, so FTR picked up the victory on this one. So this one, I have to say, this one is one of the best matches of the night. The next tag team match, it's the Butcher and the Blade facing off Private Party. Now, this is one of those matches it doesn't become a squash match because we have seen them both on Dynamite a lot, but this one was really good. But this time we did not see Matt Hardy in it. I think right now this is where Matt Hardy's going to step down from Private Party for a short time to reignite his feud with Sammy Guevara now that he's back. But I have to say this was a really good match to see too. I say this one and the previous one were the best. And Joey Janela and the Initiative. But as you know, the Butcher and the Blade, they're a very strong team. That's why they call themselves the Butcher and the Blade. One's a brawler, one is more of a high flyer or whatever he does. But I liked it. But frankly, the Butcher and the Blade actually won this match. So I think that's it right now for AEW Dark. So right now, I hope you guys are ready for tonight for AEW Dynamite. I can't wait to see it. So let's move on right now with Impact Wrestling. Alright, so right now we're starting out with Impact. First match they started out was the TNA World Heavyweight Championship with the self-proclaimed champion Moose facing off against Heath. Now, if you all recall, a week ago, Scott D'Amore told Heath if he beats Moose for the title, then they will talk for his future. This match was very interesting. I like how this one was going, where Heath was very determined to win this match because he needed to work. It's his livelihood and all this. Moose, he thinks he's the best wrestler in the world. He even say he's God of wrestling. No, Karl Gotch is. You will never live up to Karl Gotch. If you guys know who he is, I'll do a discussion episode on him in the near future. Hopefully you guys would enjoy it. So, moving on. This was a very interesting match but much of it you see Moose being more of the dominant here. But he made his mistake when he said that Heath's kids are ugly, and he did not like that. Don't ever talk about that, about a man's kids. Yes. Don't ever do that. So, this was a great match, but it would have gone Heath's way if Moose did not accidentally took out the ref, but he gave Heath a low blow. And he still claims he's the best wrestler in the world. But I'll get to the part where EC3 has a message for him. Now, the next thing they talk about is the upcoming event pay-per-view, or so-called Emergence. Now that's going to take place in 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, somewhere around there. I can't wait to see it. This is going to be a very interesting pay-per-view to watch. Now the next thing we have is they had an interview with Willie Mack. Now, if you recall a week ago, Rich Swann said that he will discuss the outcome of what happened in Slammiversary when Eric Young brutalized his injured ankle after what happened back in January. So this is one of those times where we don't know what's gonna be. Is he gonna stay or he's gonna be forced to retire due to this? I don't know. Not even Willie Mack knows, because he said on the interview that he's keeping close to the vest, but he will be there for him when he needs it. You know, that's the kind of friend Willie Mack is. So I'm excited to see how this one's going to play out. Now, the next thing we see is EC3. As you all recall, EC3 said that he has to destroy his past. Now, that is something that's been clear. But what was... I think I started to see the storyline on why he attacked Moose. Moose has been going out telling the entire world he is the TNA World Champion, that he is the true champion of Impact Wrestling. However, he never beat anybody for that title. He just took it out of storage and started wearing it. But EC3, on the other hand, he has been TNA champion. That's always been the championship that made him who he is back in the day. But he decided he's going to face Moose for the title. And once he faces him, he's going to destroy the title. Now, you probably ask yourself, why would he do that? There is a simple psychology storyline you may want to see. EC3 has been one of the best champions. He has faced countless people for defending it or beating him for the title. But he looks at Moose, he's destroying the legacy that he built with that title. And now Moose is destroying it, claiming he won that title. And EC3 will not take that lightly. In order to secure his past, to destroy his past, he has to destroy it to ensure that maybe his legacy will live on or so. I don't know. But it's still no word about it, what Moose has to say about it. Saying that, because this is what I would think. If Moose was told, saying, hey Moose, did you hear EC3 wants to destroy your TNA World title? He'll be like, what? Why? I don't know. So basically that's going to be like one of those times where Moose is trying to understand why. Why is he trying to destroy it? And I think Madison Rayne and Josh Matthews will probably pick that up. Moose is destroying everything that TNA stood for. And he claims he's the champion, but he's not. But sooner or later, I do predict he will beat him for that title and destroy the legacy of Moose. That's my prediction. So let's move on to the next segment. As you know, Jimmy Jacobs has now set up an interview with the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, they talked about what prompted them to come back after 8 or 10 years, somewhere around there. So they decided, they have faced many countless tag teams over the years. But the North has always talked about how over a year they have beaten every tag team in the world that they have come across, including the Impact roster. But at the same time, nobody talked about the North. But the City Machine Guns decided, why not? Because they never face guys like them. Now, the North will not allow that to happen. They believe that they were not prepared to face guys like the Motor City Machine Guns, like right after Slammiversary. They think that they were not 100%. So they think they cheated their way through to beat them. But of course the Machine Guns don't buy that. I mean, it's only been like a couple of days. They would have been fine. But no, they're still bragging. They still do have a rematch clause, which meaning that they will get a title shot for them. So it's going to be under their time. So they picked Emergence. Oh, hold on. Emergence. Yeah, that's the name. Emergence. So we're gonna be seeing that soon. Next thing we see is Kimberly talked about Deanna Prazo in person about how she saw Jordan Grace. That sooner or later that Jordan Grace will come at, for her for the title. Now, Kimber doesn't want to be friends with her, but she's willing to make a deal with her. She said, give her an opportunity to take out Jordan Grace. In exchange, she gets a title shot and Emergence for the Knockouts championship. And of course, Deanna Purrazzo will grant her that if she takes her out. So that's going to take place, I think, next week or so. I'm not. No, they haven't put that yet. Hopefully, next week it will happen. Then we're back into the Wrestle House. Funny show. Now, this is a very interesting episode with the Wrestle House. Kylie Ray wants to know, is Johnny E. Bravo going to tell Rosemary how he feels about her? The only way they have to leave the house if Johnny just say it. Just say the words. But as soon as he was trying, Kylie wants to know. They were both Rosemary and Taya were looking for sorry about that. My arm hurts a little. Woke up with a bad shoulder. Anyway, Rosemary was looking for him, but they want to know what Kylie said to him. They can't. She doesn't want to tell her because it would ruin the moment. So they set up for another match between Kylie Ray and no. But before that, apparently they had this. No, scratch that, folks. I messed up. They had a little thing going on in the front. Before that, there was a handicap match between Johnny Swinger and, of course, Susie and Alicia. It's so bizarre. But if you guys must know, Johnny Swinger got it coming. He lost. But that was great. But that was the whole point of the whole thing. But after that, Kylie wanted to know about Johnny E. Bravo. And that kind of started the thing. And then that's when Rosemary set up a match between her and Kylie Ray. So that's going to take place a little bit later of the episode. Now, we go back to Impact Impact Plus flashback moment of the week. Who hasn't recalled when Impact Wrestling finally made their television debut on Access TV? Brian Cage was in a cage match against Sami Callihan for the Impact World title, which is the one where he lost. Now, before Cage winning the title, losing the title, Sami already faced him before, but he lost, and he wasn't going to take that lightly. So that was kind of like what happened. If you haven't followed it, you can. If you have Impact Plus, that's like maybe $10 a month to watch. Just rewatch the whole thing. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Next thing we see is the Good Brothers. They're on their way to the car. Someone busted open their car, and their beer was spilled. We all know who did that, and that is Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Excuse me. Then here comes the sheriff's department, and Ace Austin instigated the whole thing again. They lost control. Even Gallows accidentally hit a member of the sheriff's department, which was so bizarre. And this is what this was a strategic plan by Ace Austin. You know, that he wants to teach these guys a lesson because they think they should not have gotten involved in his business. Well, the Good Brothers don't care. But that's how it ended this part of the segment where Gallows gets arrested. Next thing we know is Brian Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins. He will be coming soon to Impact Wrestling. We don't know when, they haven't announced it, but I'm excited to see him back. Next thing we see the Impact World Championship. Eddie Edwards putting on line again this week. The person who responded was Sami Callihan. But however, Sami was attacked by a very vengeful RVD. Now, if you guys don't recall, a week ago, Katie Forbes thought that Sammy Callahan was a fan, but he had no interest in her. He was looking for Shamrock. And then he tells her, I'm a world champion. She didn't believe him. So, and then she thinks that she's been stalking, that Sammy's been stalking her. No! Why would he stalk her? She just made up all this crap. And next thing would happen, Sammy hacked her photos and posted a picture of him and humiliated her in public. And Josh Matthews said that this will not be the end of it. So, RVD attacked Sammy, but can he compete? Well, against officials' advice, he decided to do it anyway. But it was a good match to watch. But the rivalry is still there. If you guys don't recall, Sammy Callahan and Eddie Edwards had a rivalry where Sammy has been mentally abusing Eddie Edwards, nearly costing him his career, his match. He nearly tried to kill him, but it didn't happen that way. So, it was an interesting match to watch. But, of course, Eddie Edwards came on top. But there was something that happened on this one. Sammy had a chair. We know Sammy has no remorse whatsoever to who's been challenging. He had a chance to use the chair, but he didn't. He just tossed it. We don't know if he's developed a conscience or what. But hopefully we get answers on that soon. Then we go back to the Wrestle House. Rosemary versus Kylie Ray, but referee of the day was Taya. So basically, much of the match was being ruled by Rosemary, but all of a sudden, here comes Johnny E. Bravo. He left and he came back. Rosemary got distracted, and because of that, it cost her the match. So I don't know what Rosemary was thinking. She was like blushing. Well, I can't tell if she's blushing underneath that makeup. So he tell that Johnny really wants to say the words, but the only thing that stands in his way is Taya. So Rosemary said, as long as it takes. So she is really gonna wait until Johnny finally admits how he feels about her. So this is a very interesting love story. It feels like a real soap opera. All right. As you know, Hernandez was in a arm wrestling competition with Rhino, and they had a match. Rhino somehow speared him and took all the money. So he hired Reno Scum to hunt him down. So if he does hunt him, they get half of the money that Rhino took from Hernandez. So basically, they're hired guns. So I can't wait to see where they're gonna go with that. Next thing we know, we had what was it? Chris Bay and Rohit Raju versus TJP and Fallah Bahh. This one was a very interesting match. I love the dynamic how TJP and Fallah Bahh went on this one. I enjoyed every moment of it, and basically you see more of how TJP and Fallah Bahh have worked cohesive as a unit. But TJP had no interest of the X Division because ever since teaming with Fallah Bahh, they've been interested in getting the Impact Tag Team titles. But, of course, Rohit Raju decided to find him an opponent, and he picked TJP. But, luckily, this match ended great. This could be a possibility TJP could get a chance for the Impact X Division title. So they picked up the victory on this one. So I can't wait to see what's more. Now, last thing before I go on this on the Impact Wrestling, Rich Swann finally addressed about what happened. As you all know, he injured himself during a match. People said that it's likely that he may not make it back, but he proved them wrong, including the doctor who told him that. So after what happened this Slammiversary, Rich Swann was told by a doctor that if he continues on, there's a chance he could be a gimp. So he made the ultimate decision to retire, which was sad, but at the same time, here comes people who admired him. Uh, the Rascals, many Kimberly, Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, Suicide, a few others. They were there for him, knowing that he gave his run and now it's time for him to go. As soon as they were giving Rich Swann his moment, that bastard Eric Young showed up and attacked him again at the injured ankle. Sadistic, he's out of his mind. But I do know Willie Mack will get his revenge against Eric Young for what he's done. So that's going to be the next storyline between Eric Young and Willie Mack. Revenge. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of reviewing both AEW Dark and Impact Wrestling. Now, before I go, the last thing I say, I forgot to mention this thing early in the episode. It turns out that AEW was TNT has been asked by the NBA to move AEW Dynamite on different days, on Saturdays or something, due to the NBA Finals. So it's not permanently, it's temporary, but the real question is how this is going to be played out. You know, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. But we're willing to wait to see what happens. So keep track of those when that happens. They will, if you guys follow them on social media, they will announce those more, what days it will take place. But for now, I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.